Grab you a cup of coffee, and today we are going to talk about advanced placement literature using the Movies as Literature curriculum. Hey everyone, recently we made a video about how we're using movies to teach literature to our children, and we are using a book to kind of springboard off of. It's called Movies as Literature. It's literally just, that's what it's called. If you haven't seen that video yet, please go back and check that video out. I'll link it up here and down there. But it gives you kind of the basis of what is movies as literature and how we're using it. But today I wanted to just pinpoint specifically how we're using it for advanced placement. Again, if you go back to the video, it'll tell you how all we're able to use movies as literature and the free resources that we were able to use if you just can't do the money for the Movies as Literature book, because there are free alternatives to using specifically that book. But some people, like, they can't just start from scratch and do free. Some people really have to have that resource of like step by step how to do it, and that's totally okay. I needed that book to start with at first, but then once we got through it one time, I didn't really need it anymore for my other kids because we got the concept down of how it works. And basically our family was already doing those concepts anyways. But today, let's talk specifically about advanced placement. So yes, you can do advanced placement in your high school and 8th grade, number one, because this actually technically works for 8th through 12th grade. Number two, yes, you can do work in homeschooling that will account for or as an advanced placement credit. So like number one, yes, you can actually register your child as an advanced placement class. And then number two, yes, you can actually do work that counts as advanced placement. So that's kind of like a fuzzy subject there, because some people are like, well, I could do advanced placement work, but then my kids don't count. It doesn't count as a class for them. You can do both. It does actually count as both. So let's go through what my child is doing. So basically advanced placement, honestly, you're going above and beyond. So movies as literature, I talked about like the basic core of what you do. Let's talk about the supplemental things. And I'm gonna focus on two main areas and try not to keep y'all super long today because it's Monday and we're homeschooling our kids and we need to get busy. So number one is actually read the book. Now I know what a lot of y'all think, well, if we're doing literature, we're using movies as literature, you still have to actually read the entire book. No, you don't. So that's one of the things that was kind of the fuzzy area that we talked about with movies as literature last time. No, you don't. And because of that, I am extremely specific on which movies I will and won't do for movies as literature. If it's a book or a movie that's supposed to be based off a book and it's totally left field, not based off the book at all, and I don't have at least one AP student doing it, yeah, we scratch it. It's not going to happen. We're not going to do it. Here's my logic behind that. Some kids are visual learners. I have two visual learners. They're not going to read the entire book. Now, one of them will read the book if she wants to, but the other one is not going to sit down and read a large 1,000-page book that this movie is based off of. So that's why I'm a little more specific about it, and why I'm a little more willing to just do movies, and why I'm a little more particular about the movie, so that it's based, so that the movie is as to the book as possible. So number one is I will actually do, Tennessee has a program called Reads. We can download books, and it's like a rental of an audio version, or it's audio or a digital format of a book. You get it for up to 21 days, and we'll do that. Or if it's one that I know all my kids are going to want to do, I will actually purchase the book, and then we'll use a purchased physical copy of the book, and then they'll read through that. So that's one way you can make it advanced placement. Number two is research historical information based on the time period that either A, the book was set in, or B, the book was written in. This one is totally fun because, like, so spoiler, I'm gonna do a list at the end of the year of our recommendations for British movies as literature that my 10th graders are going through now. And then I'll also do a separate one for my 8th grader who is going through children's literature as movies. With the British one, spoiler, we're doing Chronicles of Narnia. So for one of my, or I have one that's doing it as is, and I'm doing one advanced placement. My one that's doing it as is, went back and researched World War II, what it was like for British families to take in children that were not their own during that time frame, and go off of that as kind of a springboard. Another alternative assignment I gave her was she could journal what she thinks it would have been like to live be a child who had to go and move in with somebody else during World War II because of the London bombings during World War II. So that's an alternative. You can tell it's Monday because my brain totally just forgot number 3, so give me just a second. Okay, number 3 is compare and contrast the book to the movie. Oh boy. So the reason why I say that is I had my AP student, my AP 10th grader, from the day that we decided we were doing British literature as movies. And the reason why, I'll go ahead and kind of mention it here a little bit too. The reason why we picked British for 10th grade is because usually in 10th grade, you're either doing world geography or world history. So I figured do the British literature for 10th grade. We'll cover what 11th grade is going to be later in 12th grade and all that if the kids don't do dual enrollment. 2 of them are not doing dual enrollment. So I'm going to show you what they do for 11th and 12th instead of dual enrollment. But let me get back to the British literature. Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Yeah, Voyage of the Dawn Treader is not, like, it's kinda based off of the book Voyage of the Dawn Treader, but the Fox representation of Voyage of the Dawn Treader is horrible. It took out so much of the actual Christian perspective, like this quote. This quote right here above my head, yeah, that's from Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Voyage of the Dawn Treader is my 2nd favorite book. Always, you know, Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe is always going to be my number 1 favorite. But Voyage of the Dawn Treader, my 2nd favorite book in the entire series. I love the Voyage of the Dawn Treader so much. That quote, not in the 3rd movie. And there were other things that, like, they twisted, they took out so much spiritual application that was in that 3rd movie, and that just really bothered our crew. Like, we wanted that to still be there. Like, I still wanted that to be there. Nope, wasn't. So from day 1 of knowing she was doing British literature, it was how many more movies until we get to Voyage of the Dawn Treader until I can write that report. And I was like, please be nice. But she's already written it. It's hilarious. But anyways, actually, no, she's writing it right now. She just finished Prince Caspian, which also that one, duh. The first movie was so good. The 2nd movie, eh. The 3rd movie, ugh. But it made a good compare and contrast. And comparing and contrasting and debating and things like that are really healthy for kids to study. And honestly, when you're in a homeschool environment, debating is a hard thing to do. Like, unless you co-op or, like, you know, have somebody else teach your kid how to do it or put your kid in a club that debates, sometimes it's harder. So if you don't have a debate, compare and contrast can be an awesome opportunity to be able to work on the debating kind of skills that you need. Because when I have them do compare and contrast, I made them defend their response of, why do you believe this way? Why do you think it should be this way? Well, what if somebody were to say this to you? How would you respond to that? And it's a really cool way to kind of go back and forth and just overall, like, that's just that compare and contrast. And also I found that sometimes with writing papers, compare and contrast makes it so much easier, because in the basic format, you have an introductory paragraph, the comparison paragraph, the contrast paragraph, and then your conclusion. So 4 paragraphs. I mean, obviously you're going to want to build that up a little bit and add some more in-depth and context to it, and which hers is going to be like 5 pages long. I gotta grade that. Anyways, I don't mind. Literature's like the one thing that I like have to actually grade anymore because of the way we teach now. So, like, not totally worried about. Actually, I do have to grade science, but that's just kind of like, that's one of the things I love about this curriculum, is that we have that option, and it gives us the freedom to teach AP the way we want. And again, what I love about the fact that we can teach AP is that my other kids who just don't need that extra work or that extra amount other than basic, this is what the movie was about, that's okay. And I can still spend that time with them, working one-on-one with them, because with them, they're more on one-on-one of like spelling editing and grammar editing. The other 2 will still need it, but because they're in AP, also kind of, they don't need it as much. So that's it, you guys. That's my 3 ways that we add the basic movies as literature. Again, please go check out that first video because it has a lot of our in-depth information. It's like a 20-minute long video about like how we're teaching movies as literature. I will, again, I promise you guys, my goal at the end of this year, or maybe even like as we go, is to do a video about how we did British movies as literature, what movies we did, what movies we suggest, and then it may be a little bit longer of a video, but it'll be completely how we did it. And honestly, most of it, except for like other than the actual basic cost of either renting or purchasing the movies, if they're not free on streaming services, then it's basically free. And if you look at the cost of high school literature programs today that have so much filler stuff in there that your high school kids don't need unless they just skipped like elementary and middle school, then it's a really great program to use. And also, like I said, visual learning. And I am such a huge component, or I am such a huge fan of visual learning. I mean, like, I'm making a video to teach you guys how to teach your kids. So, I mean, I love being able to help people find those visual learning things. I will also drop a link to a webinar Margie, our guidance counselor who introduced us to movies as literature. I will drop a link to her webinar down below. She is a guidance counselor through Home Life Academy, which is our umbrella school that we use in Tennessee to stay legal to homeschool our kids. And she is fantastic. I told her, you know, basically we're YouTubers, we travel, we need a curriculum we can take with us on the go. We don't want to be nailed down to books. We don't want to carry crates of books with us. We just want to be able to take, and she's like, oh, let's talk. And we have spent hours talking. She's a fantastic woman. There's a 1 hour webinar, or maybe longer than that. There's a webinar down in the description below of her tips for teaching through high school and not stressing through it, and most of them are free or really cheap to do. But that is it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to our members who suggested this video, and thank you again, members, for continually supporting our channel to help us to continue making this content to encourage other homeschoolers through the day-to-day life, whether it be traveling or being at home or just homeschool help. Just whatever you need, I mean, that's what we're here for. My goal, my passion, my mission is to help other homeschool families to not stress their homeschooling, enjoy this journey with your family, and also maybe save a little money along the way as well. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.